Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Acupuncture is My Life show. I'm Dr. Lott, a state-licensed, board-certified doctor of acupuncture, and I'm going to ask you guys to do me a big favor. I need you to temporarily turn off your understanding of Western physiology for a moment so that you can gain an understanding of how an acupuncturist views the functions of the heart. And as I go through all of the yin organs as well as yang organs of the body, I'm going to continually ask that you do that, because an acupuncturist views the functions of different organs different from that of a physician. And the more you continue to listen and follow the show, the more you'll gain understanding of yin and yang relative to the internal organs, and then eventually yin and yang relative to diseases. But I'm starting out by explaining the functions of all the yin organs as well as all of the yang organs before I get into discussing diseases, how it is diagnosed by an acupuncturist, and an acupuncturist's approach to treating the various autoimmune diseases, respiratory diseases, chronic illnesses, and much, much more. So again, I need you to temporarily turn off your understanding of Western physiology for a moment, okay? As I present to you the functions of the heart as seen by an acupuncturist. Because you see, to an acupuncturist, the heart governs blood, it controls the blood vessels, and it manifests in a person's complexion. And an interesting function of the heart is, I know this is going to shock many of you, is that the heart to an acupuncturist controls a person's mind, as well as it opens into their tongue as well, and I'm going to get to all of that. Now, the heart, just as in Western medicine, is seen as the most important internal organ in the body. Now, all of the functions I've just stated, the main function of the heart is that it governs blood and the blood vessels, as well as it houses the mind, which is considered your shin. Now, with regard to governing blood, the heart is responsible for the transformation of the nutrients in food in the form of qi into your blood, as well as it's responsible for blood circulation. You see, when your heart is strong, it's because your body has a sufficient amount of blood as a result of the transformation process performed by the heart, and a person would appear or present with a great constitution. Now, if your heart is weak, there would be a poor transformation of qi from food into the blood, and blood would become deficient, and the person would present with a poor constitution, and the person would lack strength. Now, when it comes to the heart controlling the blood vessels, the health of your blood vessels are entirely dependent on the heart's qi as well as the heart's blood. Now, an acupuncturist determines the state of your heart qi via pulse diagnosis. So if heart qi is strong, the pulse will be regular and full. If heart qi is weak, the pulse will be irregular as well as feeble. Now, I know many of you are wondering as to how the heart manifests in a person's complexion. Well, because the heart governs blood and the blood vessels, the the heart is responsible for distributing blood all over the body as well as to the skin. Where if the heart is strong and blood is abundant, it would show in a person's complexion. Whereas if the blood is deficient, a person's complexion would appear as pale and dull. And that's called heart blood deficiency. That's how an acupuncturist would diagnose that. Now, here's the part that I'm sure many of you are waiting for, and that's for me to explain as to how the heart controls the mind. Let me give you just one of many possible examples here. Let's take, for instance, you're madly in love with someone, and the love of your life decides the relationship is over. I'm leaving. I'm out. I'm gone. How would you feel? Would you label that as being heartbroken? Am I correct? Which is an emotional representation of sadness. Now, when a person is mentally anxious for an extended period of time, do they not experience heart palpitations? Even when a person is extremely nervous, again, heart palpitations. Now, listen to this example. When you're finally approached by someone you've had a crush on or been crushing on for a long period of time, and begin, once they approach you, to experience mental excitation, do we not say our heart skipped a beat? Are you now beginning to understand the heart-mind relationship? You see, when your heart is strong and blood is abundant, a person presents with clear mental activity. Their emotional life would present as balanced, and they would tend to have a clear conscience and good memory with keen thinking, and would also, believe it or not, experience a good night's sleep on a regular basis. Now, when a person's heart is weak and blood is deficient, an individual would tend to experience mental as well as emotional problems. For instance, let's say depression. They would have poor memory as well as poor thinking, and experience consistent bouts with insomnia. And all of this would reflect in their shin. Think about that for a second. You ever see someone come into work, or you see a friend that, looks down, looks exhausted, looks tired, drained? You're looking at certain issues that's reflecting in their shin. Okay? This is several of many ways in which an acupuncturist understands the heart is housing the mind. Now, one last interesting piece is if you're ever experiencing a bitter taste in your mouth, it's more times than not due to extreme emotional problems, let's say such as high levels of frustration, jealousy, resentment, or guilt. But here's the key. This would be the case if this bitter taste in your mouth is only experienced after a bad night's sleep. So this wouldn't drag out throughout the day or after other experiences or after eating certain types of food. Only after experiencing a bad night's sleep. To an acupuncturist, this is a sign of a heart pattern. Okay? This is a sign of a heart pattern. And now I'll get into different types of patterns in which the heart can experience, and it brings lots of patients into my acupuncture clinic as well as many other acupuncture clinics. All right. Let's start with heart chi deficiency. Now, if a person is experiencing heart chi deficiency, it would present with, let's say, palpitations, shortness of breath on exertion. Their face would appear as pale, and there would be spontaneous sweating along with tiredness and slight depression. Now, what can potentially cause heart chi deficiency? A potential cause of heart chi deficiency can be, as I'd stated earlier, due to emotional problems such as sadness or grief. These types of emotional problems can lead to deficiency of heart chi. Another cause can be as a result of blood loss. You see, there are individuals that suffer from, let's say, chronic illness, and which can end up causing a serious hemorrhage. And this type of blood loss, or any other type of internal blood loss, even external, can affect the heart's energy, the heart's chi. Because see, when you lose blood and chi go together. Blood is yin, chi can be seen as yang. Blood is yin because it's nourishing. Chi is yang because it's active and moving. And I spoke about this in the yin and yang episode previously. So one cannot coexist without the other. Okay? Blood is needed. Chi needs blood for its nourishment. Blood needs chi for its movement. So one cannot exist without the other. So if someone is experiencing some type of blood loss, you're not only losing blood, but you're losing chi as well. And this can play into heart chi deficiency. And heart chi deficiency a lot of times leads into heart yang deficiency, which I'm about to get into. And heart chi deficiency can also affect the lungs and become associated with lung chi deficiency. And when I discuss the functions of the lungs and the patterns that accompany it, I'll be repeating this. And a lot of times when heart chi deficiency causes lung chi deficiency, more times than not, this happens as a result of emotional stress. Okay? Now, let's look at heart yang deficiency as another pattern, another heart pattern. Now, heart yang deficiency may manifest with palpitations, shortness of breath on exertion, tiredness, spontaneous sweating, and you'll feel like a sense of like stuffiness or stagnant, uncomfortable feeling in the area of your heart, as well as feeling cold. You'll have cold hands, you'll have a bright pale face with slightly dark lips. Now, going back, here's yin and yang again, heart yang deficiency. Yin is cold, yang is hot. So when your yang is deficient, you'll start to feel sensations of coldness throughout the body, especially in the extremities, your hands, and some cases your feet, and your complexion, especially in the face, would present with a pale look or presentation to it. Now, there's a huge consequence in experiencing heart-yang deficiency. The consequence to heart-yang deficiency can be heart-blood stasis. Now, this is key. This is important. Because yang, again, is about moving blood. So once you're yang deficient, blood becomes static. It stops moving. Now, deficient heart yang, as I said, yang is about moving. It fails to move qi in the chest, which tends to first lead to heart qi stagnation and then to heart blood stasis. So heart qi stagnation would precede heart blood stasis. And this all is as a result of heart yang deficiency. And this is super important because, like, even attempting to translate it in Western medicine terms, it's very similar to coronary heart disease. So if you ever present or find yourself experiencing, again, palpitations, shortness of breath on exertion, tiredness, spontaneous sweating, stuffiness, or stagnant sort of discomfort in your heart area, you feel cold, especially your hands, and your face is presenting as bright and pale, it's time to see your acupuncturist or contact Acupuncture My Life. Because you don't want this to eventually become a case of heart-yang collapse, where there would be palpitations again, shortness of breath, with weak and shallow breathing. Remember that. Weak and shallow breathing along with profuse sweating. Again, the limbs would be cold. Now you would see cyanosis of the lips and present with a grayish white complexion. So again, this pattern would present or be seen as by an acupuncturist as an extreme case of heart-yang deficiency. It's not much of a difference. It's just the symptoms are a bit more extreme, and it would also present with cyanosis of the lips, which would basically be due to yang qi not moving the blood, resulting in severe blood stasis. Now, heart-yang collapse is generally or usually a very severe, serious, acute condition, which correlates with cardiac infarction from a Western medicine perspective. Okay, so sometimes when I'm discussing patterns, I'll give you examples of how it's translated in a Western medicine perspective. And in this case, when heart-yang collapse doesn't cause death, its main consequence would present as severe blood stasis. So, I mean, look at the evolution of patterns, of heart patterns to an acupuncturist. It all begins, the precursor to these deficiency patterns start with qi. Remember that for future episodes. It all starts with qi, okay? Then it metastasizes into heart-yang collapse, and then there's heart blood deficiency. All right. Now, heart blood deficiency usually manifests or presents with palpitations, dizziness, insomnia, dream disturbed sleep, anxiety, poor memory, and a propensity to be startled. And it would also be like a dull and pale complexion. Now, what are some of the things that can cause heart blood deficiency? That can be tied to your diet, for one, okay? Because a diet lacking in nourishment or in blood producing foods such as meats can cause heart blood deficiency. Another is emotional stress. There can be anxiety, sadness, grief, worry over an extended period of time, which can disturb the mind. Now, you remember I spoke earlier about heart-mind relationship? You see, these emotions or emotional stress can affect a person's mind, which in turn tends to depress heart function. And since the heart governs blood, this eventually leads to heart blood deficiency. And again, another cause can be severe blood loss. Now, you can lose blood, let's say for a female, during childbirth. This can lead to blood deficiency, and since the heart governs blood, in time presents as heart blood deficiency to an acupuncturist. Okay? And experiencing heart blood deficiency in this matter to a female is the main cause. Listen to this. The main cause of postnatal depression. We're going back to the mind and the heart, and blood is yin. Another pattern of the heart to an acupuncturist, or a way in which an acupuncturist can diagnose someone as having, is heart yin deficiency, which can manifest again as palpitations, insomnia, dream disturbed sleep, propensity to be startled, poor memory, anxiety, mental restlessness, such as, like, let's say, uneasiness, a sense of feeling fidgety. There would also be dry mouth and a dry throat with night sweating. Now, we're talking about yin deficiency. Let's go back to yin and yang. When I said yin is cold, yang is hot. Two extremes that are mutually consuming. If there's anything you forgot from the first episode, go back and listen to the episode on yin and yang. So in this case, as I said, heart yin deficiency. So that means that there's a deficiency of yin, which would present as an excess of yang, and yang is hot, so they'll be sweating, especially at night. So now if you experience night sweats, it can be as a result of heart yin deficiency. Now, a major cause of this is emotional stress, because you can have anxiety, worry, fear for a long period of time that can injure your yin. But this type of emotional stress tends to injure blood first. Okay? Another cause besides emotional stress for heart yin deficiency can be overwork. And when I say overwork, I'm talking in terms of long hours, working long hours at your job. Overwork tends to injure yin. Now, when you accompany that with emotional stress and anxiety, your mind, and here we go again, back to the mind, your mind becomes disturbed and heart yin deficiency develops. Now, this is a very common thing in the Western society, in the Western hemisphere, where everything is just about work. You gotta work, put in long hours, and so forth and so on. And I see tons of patients with heart-yin deficiency presenting with these symptoms, and I put together treatment protocols to address it. Now understand, summertime, hot climate, external heat can injure yin as well. And heart-yin deficiency can happen after, let's say, an attack of exterior heat, consuming body fluids, and exhausting the yin of the heart. Now, I just spoke of quite a few deficiency patterns. Now, the heart can present with excess patterns as well, and I'll just cover just a few of them. One can be, we're back to the mind, phlegm misting the mind, where there will be mental confusion, unconsciousness, lethargic stupor, incoherent speech, slurred speech, aphasia, vomiting of phlegm, even a rattling sound in the throat, or mental depression, or seeing someone with very dull eyes. Okay? That is considered an excess pattern. And things that can cause that, one is constitution. And you'll see this in children. Another is diet, like excess consumption of greasy, cold, raw foods, which lead to the formation of phlegm. But you see, for phlegm to obstruct the heart, the dietary origin of this pattern has to be combined with severe emotional problems. Like, for example, long-standing anxiety issues. Another excess pattern can, let's say, be heart-chi stagnation, where a person will experience palpitations, a feeling of distension of the chest, there will be depression, and you'll feel as if you have like this unusual lump in your throat, and there will be slight shortness of breath, poor appetite, slight nausea, cold limbs, slightly purple lips with a pale complexion. These are symptoms of heart chi stagnation, and the cause of that is usually as a result of emotional stress. And I've gone over emotional stress in the heart many times, but these are just two of many excess patterns. But I recommend you sit with your local acupuncturist or contact the acupuncturist in my life to discuss further different patterns of the heart and certain issues of all the yin organs as well as yang organs. But now I'm going to ask you, you can now unblock, turn back on your understanding of Western physiology, especially when it comes to the internal organs. Okay? And I want you to let what I just discussed sink in, because there's a lot more to discuss. And in the future, when I get into discussing various types of diseases, you'll hear me discuss how it ties to heart blood deficiency, spleen chi deficiency, lung yin deficiency, and these are other yin organs I will get into as to their functions and patterns that can accompany these organs. But in the meantime, contact the acupuncturist in my life. Sit with your local acupuncturist. This is important because there's so much you can learn. There's so much you can learn. It's good to make acupuncture part of your life, because acupuncture is my life. What's yours?